Why did the Roman Empire fall? It's one of those huge, epic questions in history, right? But what if the real answer isn't just about battles and emperors? What if it's actually hiding in a concept from physics? Today, we're going to look at the collapse of Rome through a really fascinating and, honestly, kind of surprising lens: the idea of entropy.
I mean, just try to picture it. 2,000 years ago, Rome was everything. It was this massive, unstoppable force that stretched from the scorching deserts of Africa all the way to the cold forests of Germania. If you were living back then, the idea that Rome wouldn't be there tomorrow, it would be totally unimaginable. It just seemed eternal.
And yet, it did. This superpower, this foundation of the entire Western world just crumbled. It vanished. How does something that big, that permanent, just fall apart?
That's the billion-dollar question, isn't it? For centuries, some of the smartest people in the world have been trying to figure it out. And you know what? They've come up with a lot of really good answers.
You know the ones. If you ask around, you'll probably hear a few of the usual suspects. People will point to the barbarian invasions, these relentless attacks on the borders. Or they'll say it was the corruption, that it just rotted from the inside. You'll even hear about moral decay, or my personal favorite, the idea that lead poisoning from the water pipes made everyone go crazy.
But here's the thing. All of those explanations, they're just symptoms. They're not the actual disease.
Yeah, they were all part of the story, for sure. But none of them, by itself, is the real reason Rome fell. They're just pieces of a much, much bigger puzzle.
We love to imagine the fall of Rome as this big cinematic moment, right? Like one final battle, the city is burning, a dramatic, sudden end. But the reality, it was so much quieter than that. The collapse wasn't an explosion, it was a slow, invisible decay that happened over generations.
So, if it wasn't one single thing, what was it? Well, the real culprit has a name, and it's a concept we're going to borrow from the world of science. It's called entropy.
So what is entropy in this sense? Basically, it's the natural tendency for any big, complex system to fall apart over time. It happens when something, whether it's an empire, a company, whatever, just gets too big and too complicated to actually manage. It's not an attack from the outside, it's a collapse from the inside, under its own incredible weight. Think of it this way. Rome didn't fall because of one thing. It fell because of everything, all at once. The invasions, the corruption, the economy tanking, it was all happening at the same time. The empire just got so complex, so tangled up in itself, that it couldn't solve its problems anymore. Problems were popping up faster than they could fix them. The whole system just lost control.
And this, right here, is where the story of Rome stops being just about ancient history. It becomes a lesson that applies to, well, pretty much everything. It's a universal story.
You see, this cycle of decay is predictable. It almost always follows the same 4 steps. First, there's growth. Success means you get bigger. But with that growth comes complexity. You get more rules, more departments, more things to keep track of. Eventually, that complexity just becomes too much, and the system starts to lose control. And that's when the final stage kicks in: decay.
So this isn't just about togas and chariots. This is a cautionary tale for any large organization today. Think about it. Huge companies that get so bogged down in bureaucracy they can't innovate anymore, or governments so tied up in red tape they can't respond to a crisis. It's the exact same pattern playing out again.
Which leaves us with a pretty big question to chew on. If entropy is this universal force that pulls down all great complex systems, we kind of have to ask ourselves, what are the empires of our world today? What nations or companies or institutions are on that same path, slowly, quietly, decaying from the inside out?